Hello, my friends. I want to share this great book with you called Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. You know, I seem to remember this book from my childhood. Harold and the Purple Crayon. One evening, after thinking it over for quite some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. He made a long straight path so that he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon along with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went along with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. Didn't want to get lost in the forest, so he just made a very small forest, just with one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty. Harold thought, they'll be so tasty when they get nice and red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree just to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. Oh, as a matter of fact, it even frightened Harold, and he had to back away. His hand, holding the purple crayon, began to shake. Suddenly, he realized what happened, but by then, Harold was over his head in the ocean. He came up, thinking very fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. I'm having trouble turning the page. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and he thought of picnics, and thinking of those picnics made him super hungry. So he decided to lay out a simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie. There were all kinds of pies. There were 9 kinds of pies that Harold liked the very best. That's a lot of different kinds of pies. When Harold finished his picnic there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up, and off he went looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. And if he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired and he felt he ought to be going to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. Do you think he's going to see it from the top of the mountain? Curious. But as he looked down, over the other side, he slipped. And there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. Oh dear. But luckily, he kept his wits about him, and he kept his purple crayon with him. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand inside. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see his house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think of where it might be. He decided to ask a police officer. The police officer pointed the way. Harold pointed to the way that Harold was going anyway, but Harold still thanked him. See him pointing? And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in his bed. Then, suddenly, Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. Oh, that's right. It wasn't it, in the beginning of the story? And then Harold made his bed. He got in it, and he drew up the covers, pulled up the blankies. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. And that's the story of Harold and the purple crayon. Isn't that fun? Wonder what you could do with a purple crayon, or a blue crayon, or an orange, or a yellow, whatever color. Enjoy.